The moment you realize that you are already perfect as you are and you don't have to do anything for your manifestation is the moment your specific person is going to show up exactly how you want. Because remember, you never actually have to do anything for your manifestation. Law of assumption, manifestation is entirely about the state. And most of the time, we begin thinking that we have to do certain things or achieve certain things or be and do like physical things in our reality in order to be with our specific person or overcome limiting beliefs or fears or anything like that. But in essence, what if I were to tell you that you don't have to do any of that? None of that actually matters in your manifestation. So, yes, everything you feel that is in between you and your manifestation can actually be something you take along with you if you just imagine it in your end state. So, let's say you feel worried or shy, or you feel like you have to do things in your reality in order to be with your specific person. Let's say, for example, clean your room or something. You have this assumption that your specific person is not going to show up in your reality if you have a messy room. I know it sounds very strange to pick that as a limiting belief, but every limiting belief that you can have in your reality in relation to your specific person to your higher self will sound just as strange. So instead of this, because now we've created we're kind of adding to our desire, as Neville Goddard would say. We're making it so things have to occur in order for us to be with our specific person, but in essence, just overcomplicating it. So again, let's jump back to this idea that we feel as if we have to clean our room in order to invite our specific person over or to be with them, right? In essence, and what you can do instead is actually just imagine your end state as like your specific person loving the fact that your room is messy, right? Because why can't they love that? And if you imagine that, you've actually overcome this limiting belief without actually ever doing anything about it. Because if they love you for your messy room, then your state as it is already in the physical presence that can be and manifest your specific person. And there's actually nothing physical that you can do. And this can actually work with anything in your reality, any limiting belief, anything you feel you have to physically do, just imagine it in your end state and you'll understand that you can actually be with your specific person while this thing is showing up for you in your reality. Because a lot of times we go along this really intense bridge or path that we have to overcome negative experiences or overcome worries or overcome fears or do things in our physical reality for our specific person to like us. And of course, if there's something that you want in your end state, there's no problem with acting it out. So for instance, let's say you are this individual who thinks you have to clean your room in order to be with your specific person. If that's how you imagine and want your end state, there's actually no problem with cleaning your room. But if you feel as if this is impacting you or something that needs to be done, then it can actually impact our state and make us feel like manifesting becomes this really difficult or really challenging process. But in reality, it's all about assumption and it really doesn't have to make any sense. It just has to be our imagined end state. And so you can ask yourself anytime you are worried or fearful, is imagining you right now as compared to your end state. And one kind of trick that I always like to do in manifestation is to think about the distance you feel is from who you are now to who you feel is in your end state. And what you want to do is begin closing that gap. So by basically asking yourself, is there anything I'm trying to leave behind as I'm moving into my end state? Is there any portion of myself that I feel is not worthy to be with my specific person? And whatever you answer to that question, because it could be anything, it could be messy room, it could be literally anything. Imagine in your end state, your specific person loving you specifically for that thing. So I know I keep jumping to this messy room example, but you can absolutely use it. So imagine your specific person telling you, oh my gosh, I love you. And I love how your room is so spontaneous and creative and artsy, right? Why can't it be artsy instead of messy? But we want to be very aware and very apparent that we can accidentally deny portions of ourselves that we feel are not worthy in our end state, but it is in essence only the unworthiness we are placing upon it that makes it difficult to bring with us because we're just imagining it as completely different than who we are, but you don't actually have to do that. another kind of idea behind this as to why this makes sense is because there is an infinite amount of pathways to your manifestation, and you never have to worry about the how, right? And so when we're worried about what physically to do, yes, I would say in coaching sessions, when we talk about like physically acting, there's nothing wrong with that. And because in coaching sessions, I've helped people manifest and create and do things outside of themselves that increases the feeling of being with their specific person, and it works magnificently. But always remember, you don't have to do that, right? That's the key behind it. There's nothing that you technically have to do. You can if you want, but you don't have to. Because when people feel as if they're not good enough, they're denying these infinite amount of pathways to their manifestation. Because remember, you don't have to worry about the how. The how, or thinking that we need to change something physically in our reality, is just actually a lack of abundant thinking as compared to something that we feel as if we really need. Because it's kind of like Neville Goddard's idea of when someone asks him, and someone actually commented this on one of my videos. And so if you know who you are, because I think you've seen it, they were talking about this idea, and because Neville Goddard was asked the same question. Why do people want to kill someone else, right? Like if manifestation is real, right? Why do certain people want to do that? Why would they want to manifest that? But Neville Goddard had the perfect answer, and it leads to this abundant thinking. When they asked them, why would someone want to kill anyone? Or is that a desire that people want? Because Neville Goddard mentions desire as being a gift from God. His response is perfect. He basically said, no one really wants that, right? No one really wants to attack or be violent against another individual. They want them to be away from them, or they no longer want to interact with them, or they want to have space in between them, all of which are viable options in the infinite realities of our universe. But if you think there is no way of achieving those, that's where then you get to violence, right? You start to act from a state that we don't want, or only because we feel limited. But in this way, the same thing is happening, not in a violent state, but we're basically thinking that because we can't be with our specific person with the things, or with what we feel is not worthy of being with our specific person, because we lack in a thought of abundance, we feel as if we need to change this. But again, remember, you don't have to do this. Now, I do always want to add this, and I already added this. If you feel there's something you would do in your end, that can also be divine guidance. So if there's something you want to do, never deny that. If you want to clean your room and it makes you feel in essence in your end state, you can absolutely do that. There's nothing stopping you. If you do feel as if you don't want to do this, and you feel unworthy and bad and negative and fearful because your room is messy, and I keep, don't think it's only cleaning your room. It could be like physical activity. It could be where you live. Maybe you live with someone else and you think you don't want to be. I know I actually posted a success story about someone changing that in their reality, but where you live, physical appearance, the way you act, the way you feel, worries, fears, none of that actually has to be changed in order to be with your manifestation or with your specific person. Even think about the idea of anxiety, right? You can have anxiety and still be with your specific person. Why can't your specific person think of your anxiety as really cute and fun and exciting, right? Like, why can't that be the case? Because I bet you look at your specific person and kind of think the same exact thing. When you look at them and you think of their flaws, or what they might term as their flaws, which you would not understand, you'd be like, why do you think that's a flaw? When you look at them, you see them as perfect, and your specific person sees you in the same way. So again, remember, there are an infinite amount of pathways to your manifestation. So there is a pathway in which you're fearful, having anxiety, stressing out, your room is messy, right? All of that, and you're still with your specific person. There is a reality that creates that. So always remember, you don't technically need to do anything in order to get what you want, except whatever you do feel like doing. That's divine guidance. That's the bridge of events. So don't feel as if there are things that you have to get rid of or change or alter in order to be with your specific person, because sometimes people think as well, oh, I have to do this thing and then I'll be with my specific person. Now, if that's something you want, that's the assumption you can have, and that's the reality you're going to get. But it doesn't actually have to be that way, right? You could, let's say you want to, you're thinking of buying a new house or something. You want to live on your own. In that case, why can't your specific person be along with you for the journey? Or let's say there's some sort of anxiety or worry in your mind. Why can't your specific person help you along that journey, right? We probably never thought about that. And so start to connect those together and you will find everything works so much easier. You will find the action, the worries, the fears, everything literally cease to exist because it doesn't matter with your manifestation. Just ask yourself, what do you feel is unworthy to take with yourself into your end state? And then start to imagine your end state with those things. But again, if you want to change them or alter them, you can also imagine yourself without those things if you want. Again, it's all up to you. But remember, your desire is a gift. And so if you are having this desire for your outcome, you are meant to be with that. So as always, make sure to comment down below any questions, any thoughts, any worries. Comment too the things that you're kind of shifting around or what you might have thought as a worry or fear that's actually going to become your biggest asset in your manifestation. Because don't get it wrong. The things you feel are wrong or are most likely the things your specific person loves the most about you. So keep that in mind. If you did want to reach out to me with a question that you didn't want to post publicly, remember you can also reach out to me on my website at kyleaugustcoaching.com. As always, thank you so much for stopping by today. Make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video if you know that your specific person is wanting to accept you and loves you for exactly who you are right now without doing anything. And then don't forget to subscribe because that does actually help me out a lot. And again, remember, I want you to subscribe because I want you to tell me all of your fun updates, successes, and amazing things that happen with your specific person. But as always, thank you so much for stopping by today, and I can't wait to see you in my next video tomorrow.